Lieutenant Colonel Alvarez.
It's a pleasure and an honor to be back here in Kerrville once again. This is a beautiful part of Texas that I truly enjoy. There's some beautiful people here, people that represent that rugged, individual, indomitable spirit that we know to love about Texas. And I would be remiss if I did not address my dear friend, former United States Navy combat aviator, Wayne Musgrove, and his dear wife, Betty. Thank you again for having me back. I'd also be remiss if I didn't say this. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for the thoughts, your prayers, and your well wishes. On Saturday, the 23rd of May, coming back from a rally where I spoke at the Texas State Capitol, and God's got a sense of humor, because it happened at mile marker 354 in the city of West Texas. I was the lead motorcyclist, left front stagger position in the center lane. Car cuts over in front of me. I kind of sensed that the car was going to do it. But behind me, the motorcyclist that was supposed to be trailing me staggered. I don't know if he didn't pay attention or what, but he came up and hit me. We were traveling between 73 to 75 miles per hour on I-35. No one survives a motorcycle accident at 73 to 75 miles per hour on an interstate highway. It does not happen. But it's only by the grace of God that I'm standing here before you all. Amen. A month ago, I had the shoulder surgery because I dislocated the shoulder. When the shoulder popped out, it completely shattered the socket bone, which holds in the ball. And so that had to be rebuilt from other bone in my body, and there had to be 2 screws put in there. This morning I did 6 laps in my swimming pool after running 3.5 miles. I'm a walking miracle, and that's all I can do. And it comes back to a verse in the Bible, Jeremiah 29:11. God says, I know the plans that I've made for you. Now, Lord, next time, can you just give me a road to Damascus moment? Just kind of blind me for 2 or 3 days, let me eat real good, and then the scales fall off my eyes? Because folks, it hurt, okay? But one thing did concern me as I was there in the hospital, because Joe Biden said that if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. I just want Joe to know my skin has grown back, and it grew back brown, okay? So I'm good to go. Another thing that I told the doctors when they were working on me there in Waco was that if they classified me as a COVID-19 death, I would come back and kill them. And the reason why I share those stories with you is because I want to talk about one of my favorite quotes I just recently posted on Facebook. Because I think it talks about where we are today, and what a great introduction, and you laid everything out. But the devil whispers to the warrior, you cannot withstand the storm. The warrior whispers back, I am the storm. I want each and every one of you to understand that you are the storm. You are the force. You are the power. You are what makes Texas and what makes the United States of America great. And when I think about what we just celebrated, the 244th anniversary of the greatest nation that the world has ever known. A nation that looked at the greatest military power that the world knew at that time. But because of the fact that they believed that they were the storm, they took them on. And they fought, and they won their independence. But on the exact same day, a few years later, July the 4th of 1867, our Republican Party of Texas was founded in the Houston, Galveston area 153 years ago. by 150 black men. Now, the amazing thing was that I shared that with some Republican delegates out in Lubbock this past Saturday, and they didn't know it. Our history as Republicans in Texas comes from men who understood that they were the storm. And how incredible that is in 1867 that these free men created our party. 2 years prior, they had just learned that they were free on June the 19th of 1865. And they learned that they were free because of 2 years prior to that, in 1863 or so, the first Republican president, Abraham Lincoln, signed an incredible document called the Emancipation Proclamation that set them free. And the man who was influential with President Abraham Lincoln in getting him to create that Emancipation Proclamation is a man by the name of Frederick Douglass. How is it that here we are in these United States of America today that people want to tear down the statue of Abraham Lincoln, the man who gave us the Emancipation Proclamation, the man that fought so that people like me could be free, the man who said we will have a 13th Amendment, followed up by the 14th and 15th Amendments. How is it that a man like Frederick Douglass, born into slavery, self-educated as a free man, and became a counselor and advisor to a president, had his statue written down this past weekend? How is it on the exact same weekend that we look across Chicago, we look in my hometown where I was born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia, and we find 5 little black children that were gunned down because of the murderous rampage? And yet, as you said, where are we, the warriors, that are saying we are the storm? Instead, we're allowing others to go out and say to us that we can't withstand what they're doing. Now is the time for us to stand and fight. There is a clear delineation between the path that America can take. And I want to tell you, it's not so much about Republican or Democrat. It's about understanding the right and proper and true relationship between the individual citizen and the institution of government. You know, on Facebook last week, Thursday, I sat down and I did something that I wish more Americans would do on Independence Day, or leading up to Independence Day. And that's read the entire Declaration of Independence. When we don't do that, when we don't take responsibility to do that with our children and grandchildren, then you cede over your responsibility, you cede over your authority to teachers and professors that indoctrinate them with this hatred of our country. When you don't sit down and tell them about the greatness and why the individual is sovereign, then they will go asunder. And they will rip down the statues and the monuments and the things that define us. It is now the time for each and every one of us to be the storm. Because if we don't come back and take over our households, if we don't take over our churches, if we don't find courageous, well, remember the Black Robe Regiment from the Revolutionary War, men of the cloth who went out and fought? If we don't take over our communities, this is what happens. And it even happens here in the great state of Texas. You're right. The left believes that they can control Texas. Why? Because what they are doing in Texas is the exact same blueprint of what they have done in every other red state that they have flipped. You look at Nevada, it's all because of 2 cities. It's Las Vegas and it's Reno. You look at Arizona, it's 2 cities. It's Phoenix and it's Tucson. You look at New Mexico, it's 2 cities. It's Albuquerque and Santa Fe. You look at Colorado, it's basically 2 cities. It's Denver and Colorado Springs and Boulder. You look at Virginia, 2019, 95 counties in Virginia. 91 counties of the 95 signed up to be sanctuary counties for the Second Amendment. 4 counties didn't. Those are the 4 counties that caused the flipping of the state that gave us our first president, our 3rd president, the author of the Declaration of Independence, and our 5th president, the author of the United States Constitution. If we don't understand that what codifies us and establishes us as the American people is that you are sovereign because your sovereign rights come from a sovereign God, a Judeo-Christian God. You are supreme over the government, but right now the challenge is there are people that believe the institution of government is supreme over us. There are people that believe in the collective subjugation of each and every one of us. Now's the time for us to be the warriors, for us to be the storm. When you come down I-35 through the great state of Texas, every single major population center is controlled by the other guys. When you jump over to Houston, Harris County, when you go out to El Paso, and you even see it happening here because people are leaving California, Illinois, New York, New Jersey, they're saying, man, that hill country is really nice. It's so pretty down here and it's peaceful. Let me move down here and jack it up like the place where I'm just trying to come from. Because now it's time for you all to look at the people that are moving into this community and say, welcome to Texas. Welcome to the hill country. God bless you. Now, why are you here? And start explaining to them what makes Texas unique. Start explaining to them about there is only one state in the United States of America that fought its own war of independence. That's what we respect. I was sharing with my dear friend Wayne Musgrove. One of the things I used to love when I was flying through Dallas Love Field and coming down that escalator, I look down there and see that Texas Ranger statue. And think about what that was indicative of. And all of a sudden, that Texas Ranger statue has been removed. See, when people start to tear down your monuments and your memorials and rip down your statues, it is no different from what the Taliban did in Bamyan province in Afghanistan when they destroyed the Buddhist temples and statues. It is no different from what ISIS did in northern Iraq and Syria when they destroyed artifacts of history. When you have people that go inside a sovereign city in the United States of America and create an autonomous zone, it is no different from establishing a caliphate. And then they list their demands. It's time for us to be the warriors. It's time for us to be the storm. So many people have said, you know, Colonel, why didn't you run for House of Representatives again? Go back up there and be with Chip Roy. Why didn't you run for Senate? Run in a primary against John Cornyn? Because, folks, the fight for the future of America is in Texas. The fight for the future of America is not on Capitol Hill. Because if we lose Texas, it's Katie bar the door. There is no place else to go. You talked about those 38 electoral votes. We're picking up 3 more congressional districts, which means we're going to go to 41 electoral votes. We are so close to losing the Texas State House. 9 seats away. Michael Bloomberg is already doing exactly what he did in Virginia. He's dumping $8 to $10 million in the state of Texas to support anti-gun candidates in the Texas State House. He only spent $2 to $3 million in Virginia and flipped their Senate and flipped their Assembly. The call to arms is happening right here in Texas. And the thing that we have to understand is, why are we allowing the other side to define us? Why are we allowing the other side to set the narrative? Let me explain something to you. You're looking at a young man that was born February the 7th of 1961 in a segregated hospital in Atlanta, Georgia. I grew up in the same neighborhood that produced Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the old 4th Ward neighborhood. I have every right maybe to have angst or be upset about the past. But you know what? I had a dad in my house. I had a mom in my house that taught me respect for authority. That taught me love of country, because my dad served in the Army during World War II. When this country did not see him as equal to many people that are here. But he taught me to understand that there's no greater honor than to wear the uniform of these United States of America. There's no greater honor than to serve the United States of America. And at 15 years of age, he challenges me to be the first officer in our family, because he was just a corporal. And my older brother was just a lance corporal in the Marine Corps Infantry, Vietnam. And from that simple man who taught me the greatness of America, not a hatred, but the greatness. Now his grandson 2 weeks ago came out on the list for Lieutenant Colonel, my nephew in the United States Army. That's what happens when you have strong families. That's what happens when you talk about the greatness of America. See, we don't need to talk about racism in America. Let me tell you something. I will define the narrative here in the state of Texas. The left is not going to define the narrative. And every single week, Chairman, you're going to get a message point. You're going to get a talking point. We're all going to be in the same sheet of music. Because now warriors fight, warriors block shields when they fight. They create an impenetrable front. That's why they can be the storm. We have not done that. We allowed the other side to do that. We don't need to talk about racism in America. We know what we need to be talking about. We know how we need to be challenging people. I just came through that little town called Johnson City. And every time I come through that town called Johnson City, I get my stomach just gets upset. Because I know about that man who grew up there. That man who grew up there created something called the Grace Society. And the Grace Society is the reasons why we have all of these failures in our urban population centers. But you're right. When we have Republicans that are going out there and marching with Black Lives Matter, I have not heard Black Lives Matter say anything about the shootings in Chicago. I have not heard them say a word about those kids that were killed this weekend. And when I go to their website and I read what they're all about, they're not about anything that addresses the issues in the black community. But you know what they've done, what the left has done once again? They created an organization, gave them a real fancy, cute kind of name that puts all of the people that don't have a permanent tan on defense. Every single one of you, you got to read this book. Shelby Steele, one of the great conservative minds of the United States of America, wrote a book called White Guilt. That's what's happening. I need you to get a warrior. I need you to be the storm and withstand these attacks that are telling you that you're racist. How can you be racist? I'm standing here in front of you. How can you be racist when you belong to a party that was created by 150 black men and you're proud of it? But if you don't know these things and you don't have the courage to go out and say it, the reason why to be the chairman of the Republican Party of Texas is to show you if I can be fearless, you better be fearless. You better charge into this fight. Because there's something at stake. Not just Texas, but this country. There's something at stake. The future for your children and grandchildren. See, my dad understood it wasn't about him and what he had to go through, the trials and tribulations. What he understood was it about me having all of the great opportunities that this country would afford. See, we are right now in a state in America. It's two real clear choices. And this is what we're going to talk about in Texas. Either you stand on the side of the rule of law or you stand on the side of the rule of the mob. Either you stand on the side of individual sovereignty or you stand on the side of collective subjugation. Either you stand on the side of economic empowerment or you stand on the side of economic enslavement. Either you believe that individuals can be victors or you want them to be victims. This is a Travis line in the sand moment here in Texas. And we must define that line in the sand. And we must be relentless. And we must challenge people. I hate to say it, but I truly don't think that the Republican Party of Texas is relevant in the political atmosphere here. I don't think Republicans in Texas, there's a group out there called the Associated Republicans of Texas. There was just an article written about them. They give more donations to Democrats than they do Republicans. And they call themselves the Associated Republicans of Texas. There's a new super PAC out there called the 43 Alumni PAC. All of the former members of the George Bush administration were going to raise millions of dollars to convince Republicans not to vote for President Trump, to vote for Joe Biden. What to say I'm here? I mean, really. You know, we had a saying down south, either you poop or you get off the pot. Okay? And we didn't say poop. But now is that moment that we need to challenge people. What do you believe in? What are your convictions? What are your principles? What are your values? Now is the time for us to go back into these major urban population centers, which are the greatest amount of failure of the policies of the progressive socialist left, and say, why do you support these folks? That all they're doing is creating a 21st century economic plantation. And don't tell me this crap. Colonel, we can't say that. Bovine excrement. You have to say that. If the left can go into black communities and Hispanic communities and give them their poison, why don't we come in with the antidote? Because they need you. When you look at what has happened, when you see a little 6-year-old girl walking, holding her dad's hand, someone walks up and shoots and kills her dad right in front of her, if you can't find the courage to stand up and say that's wrong, then what do you believe in? If you're not willing to break outside your echo chamber, your comfort zone, and get out there on this ideological battlefield and fight, then what do you believe in? If you're not willing to go out and find 5 people that don't think and believe as you do and get 3 to change their mind, then you're right. You can't withstand the storm. Because you don't understand that God given the courage that is in you. This is the battlefield of our moment. It talks about in the Bible, in Esther, about being made for a time such as this. Every single one of you here, made for a time such as this. Challenge is what you're going to do with it. We've got to make this party relevant. We've got to get on the same sheet of music. We've got to challenge the other side. One of the first things that I will do, I'm promising you this. I already got the letter in my mind. I'm going to send a letter to the Texas Democrat Party chairman. I'm going to challenge him to a series of 3 debates. I'm going to draw him out, and then I'm just going to skid him alive. Okay, I know we got cameras here in the media here. Then I say,
Colonel Rich is such a violent guy, he's going to skin somebody alive.
I'm metaphorically speaking, folks, okay? I will not do that, but I will embarrass him publicly, okay? So I corrected the record. But that's what we have to do. We should not be losing to this bunch of charlatans and chuckleheads. I want you to go out and say to the people that are all up and about, this is about correcting racism and white supremacy. I want you to go out and say, well then why don't we abolish the Democratic Party? There's only one political party that have been the purveyors of systemic racism in the United States of America. That's the party of the jackass. 13th, 14th, 15th Amendments didn't vote for it. Jim Crow, segregation, lynchings, Ku Klux Klan. Ku Klux Klan was created to keep blacks from voting for Republicans. All of those things. The longest filibuster in U.S. Senate history was Senate Democrats filibustering against the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The Civil Rights Act passed because of a Senate Republicans led by Everett Dirksen. And why are we going out and saying those things? There is so much power and truth that we have on our side. You can't have elected officials that are cowards. And I don't want it. I will get in anybody's face that calls themselves a Republican and say, you must do as my mom taught me. You better stand for something. Because right now you're falling for anything. And this is a gut check moment. And that means even the person that sits in the big house up there in Austin. Because we come from a country, not of fearful men and women. Fearless men and women made the United States of America. Fearless men and women made the great state of Texas. So what are we afraid of? Fearless men created your Republican Party of Texas, because I guarantee you, in 1867, when the Klan was out there, it weren't real popular to be black and create the Republican Party and be down here. But they did it, and they stood. Now is our time to take our message out there. Now is our time to go on offense. There is no battle in military history that's been won on the defense. Even if you have a successful defense, you got to go on offense. Ain't that right, Mr. Wayne? Because you got to drive the enemy from the battlefield. We're going to go on offense here in Texas. We're going to show that we have the blueprint, we have the strategy to stop progressive socialism. Because right now they believe that nothing can stop them. in Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, Virginia, and other states. We're going to show them that when we say come and take it in Texas, it's not a bumper sticker. It's the way we live our lives. Let me close by repeating that quote. The devil whispers to the warrior, you cannot withstand the storm. The warrior whispers